With us in the studio is member of the House of Representatives, Akarachi Amadi. He represents the Mbaitoli Ikeduru Federal Constituency. Thank you for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you very much.
Now, you're the youngest House member.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
It's exciting to have someone like you in the House, and we hope that you represent a generation that's looking for a shift. Right. Now, speak to us. You were at the chamber in the morning during the election. Speak to us about how Honorable Tajuddin Abbas can begin to use cohesive leadership to connect the rank and file of the House.
Thank you very much and good evening. Today was a wonderful day for democracy. We saw a member that had reached out to his colleagues. We saw a member that has reached out to all the geopolitical zones. We saw a member that had called us to say, come, let us partner together for the success of the 10th House of Representatives. And I think that going forward, he's going to apply that same strategy in leading the House. He's going to apply the strategy of an all-inclusive House. He's going to apply the strategy of an open-door policy as he promised the members. And he's going to apply the strategy of putting all hands on deck, irrespective of political parties, irrespective of where you come from. Once you are part of the 10th Assembly and you are there to move the nation forward using proper legislature, using all the tools at our disposal as House members, I'm sure that we'll be able to achieve a lot in the 10th Assembly.
And I'm wondering, what audacity for a 28-year-old to say, look, I'm going to give it a shot. And not only that, you succeeded in kicking out
more experienced
lawmakers. What was it? What was a driving force for you, besides the fact that the not too young to run act enabled this? I want to believe that. What will your youthfulness, bring? What kind of change, considering that you represent a demographic that's about 65% of the Nigerian population, that's over 200 million?
Thank you very much. Well, I believe that capacity has nothing to do with age.
Absolutely. Right.
And representing is having the interest of the people at heart. You being willing to listen to your people and you trying to do all that you can to make sure your people's voice is heard. That being said, I'm going to bring a voice of truth. Whether you like it or not, there's an innocence that comes with being a youth. I would say I have never been in any political office before. I would say that this is my first sojourn into politics.
What platform?
APC.
APC, okay,
yes.
Great.
So I'm bringing mostly my experience from the private sector as an engineer. I'm bringing my experience as somebody that has run a philanthropic organization, that has seen his people, that has seen various parts of Nigeria and seen the gap. And I tell you that that gap cannot be filled by just the executive. That gap needs to be filled by the legislature, because the bedrock of every democracy is the legislature. And when we have people that are truly committed to the cause of the common Nigerian man, when we have people that are fully committed to the cause of a sustainable future, I said as a 28-year-old man, I'm married, I have children, that I want to see them have better living conditions than I grew up in. I want to make sure that all the irregularities that I was exposed to, whether be it in the secondary school system, be it in the university system, be it in the employment market, that we're able to leave our mark to make sure that the future coming after us, they don't see those irregularities. We must stand now to start correcting those things. We must stand now to start proposing bills that will make sure that the young ones have an enabling environment.
Are there specific bills that you already have ready,
to push?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, one of them is a bill that has already been put on the floor. And I plan to make sure that that bill sees the light of day, which is the bill to make sure that JAMB is not valid for just 1 year. Because it's very difficult for people that will find it difficult to even raise fees for JAMB. Sometimes they pass with outstanding scores. But to get into the federal universities that they can afford, they don't have that quota to take them in. these same people have to go through that process again of trying to raise money for JAMB the next year, trying to now meet up with that quota system that might still not favor them, because the capacity of the federal universities cannot take the people that are coming out of our secondary schools. So that is one of the bills that I want to make sure sees the light of day. Another bill we're looking for is how to deploy direct tax into making sure that there is more empowerment opportunities. So what happens, for instance, that the tax system goes into what I would call the general umbrella of the federation account. There's no to say that, okay, education tax must be, okay, there's something like empowerment tax.
Right.
The way you have education tax that's meant to fund education system, there should be something that will create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs to come up. Because if we want to rely on the former system of getting federal jobs, the former system of getting state employment, we will not be able to breach this unemployment gap.
Absolutely true.
And that is the bedrock of a lot of things that have gone wrong with our youths. There is no employment for them.
Now, I appreciate the fact that your submissions are very crystallized. Right. Now, without democracy will be a fiasco, we should agree, without a formidable legislative system. And that's why all eyes are going to be on you, on you, the lawmakers. Now, what are your recommendations for strengthening our legislative space?
Thank you. Well, as we all know, one tree does not make a forest.
Right.
Akarachi Amadi is one out of 360 lawmakers. I'm happy with the cohesion that we've had with our colleagues. I'm happy with the number of days we've spent together in induction, trying to rub minds and bounce off ideas, getting into different forums such as the Young Parliamentarian Forum. That gives us that environment for us to interact. I don't believe that it's just for us to come on the floor of the parliament and start throwing out bills and start having people and dissect them. We don't have that time. We must come in, even in our private spaces as legislature, to see how we can dissect bills, even before presenting them on the floor of the House. Because what we need is legislature that will move this country forward. Absolutely. What we need is legislature that would be in harmony with the executive. Because most times when the executive and the legislature are at par with each other, you see that things go well. But when it is like, as a legislature, you are here to fight the executive, things don't go well. We have a stalemate.
Yeah, but it's going to be a balancing act between, achieving this cohesion between the legislature and the executive and ensuring that you protect the Nigerian interests, because at the end of the day, that's what you're there for. Before we started this conversation, before we came on, you actually said, now, our car come alone.
Correct.
Help us understand exactly what that is. And is that going to be the norm for you in the House?
Well, for me,
are you going to be influencing other lawmakers like yourself, especially with the discussion around, wastage in public office and all of that?
For me, I believe that being a lawmaker is you representing Nigeria. You representing the average Nigerians. So if you are privileged to be given a seat of power to hold for your constituents, the seat I'm currently holding doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the good people of Mbitoli and Ikeduru. Right. So if I can try to shed off some of the costs associated with that seat, the things I can do alone without having an entourage of aides, I can do that as a young man, then why shouldn't I? So we must try to play our part. We must go the extra mile and take sacrifice and make sacrifices for our country.
It's a good place to live it. Akarachi, Etinosa, Etionsa, Amadi.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to the things that you're going to be bringing to the House. All eyes are going to be on you. You can be sure of that.
Thank you
very much. Hope you will not cave in under pressure.